Hello. I could not tell you what color my keycaps are. Sorry, or whatever. I know that the different switches have different sounds that they make and so on and so forth. No clue. No clue.
I'm guessing cherry.
Sure. I don't even know what the different types are. I know that they're things. I know that the switches are things, but this is a keyboard that I bought 6 years ago, maybe a little less. Anyways, hello, welcome to Your Brand Your Business. This week we're going to be talking about some free steps you can take to improve your streaming business. This is an idea that I got from a webinar that I did this past weekend for a group of streamers, and basically it's a lot of stuff that we've talked about before on the show. I feel like we've alluded to these things in the past, but we haven't quite organized them like this. So I thought it would be a helpful thing to have for basically anyone starting out or anyone who is newer in their streaming journey. I'm Galen Cortina. I'm a financial planner who works with streamers. I also help them, figure out that they're running businesses and actually do that side of it. Ernest, who are you?
I'm some rando person that'll run you down in your Twitter mentions and say like, "Hey, you should probably DM me."
Anytime you see a streamer talking about taxes, Ernest is like,
Yeah. Hey, no, I'm Ernest Jones. I'm a CPA. I work with broadcasters, esports pros, game developers, and just anyone who needs tax help in the United States. Or I'm sorry, anyone who needs United States tax help.
there you go. And there's a
That is
lot
the
of people who
distinction.
need that kind of tax help because we're one of the few countries on earth that taxes you on your income no matter where you are if it's US based at all. So,
Exactly.
or
And
you're
what
a US citizen.
anything fun stuff going on with you, Galen? Anything fun to report?
No, we're starting baby classes next week, which I'm excited to have the kid, but the baby classes themselves don't seem like they'll be super fun. So that's the world that I'm existing in. Besides that, I'm just playing Slay the Spire endlessly.
I saw you like tweeted some food stuff though, right?
Oh, I made smoked salsa in my smoker. It's really good. It's super good. It's like my normal roasted salsa, except I roasted and then smoked everything instead of just roasting it. How about you, good sir? How'd you mute yourself? Oh, there you go. You're
I
unmuted
just
now.
I muted myself and then I was responding to a question. I didn't want all my clickety clacks and typing to come through. I was
We
trying to
already
be
got judged on our typing.
yeah. Nothing really. Just trying to get some stuff done before the fourth, and everyone ends up disappearing and get some stuff done for people.
Yeah, that's right. I'm not gonna
I've
get.
had
Not much is gonna get done next week. Oh
no.
God.
Listen, if I get one more request for documentation for an underwriter on a house or like loans or stuff, I'm gonna scream. It seems like everyone in my orbit is trying to like buy a home or rent or something like that or move. And something like, oh, I need like 4 years of tax returns and a
Yep.
letter from you saying that like I'm self-employed and also that I'm not like a scumbag. Please help me. And it's just like literally everyone. I had a call from a bank today about it,
Fun.
and it's weird because I'm juggling buying my house, and it's just a bunch of stuff. So
These are the
it's just
kinds of
like
things that Ernest does not at tax season. So people think like accountants are only around for that. No, whenever I have a client looking to buy a house or get a new place like rental, I or even some other financial producty kind of things. Sometimes I've had to write or have Ernest write up fancy looking letters saying like, yes, I swear they actually earn money on the internet and it's legit.
and then being on hold with the IRS the last week, essentially, just like constantly.
And yeah,
So
yeah,
But I
that
think
sounds
I
like
think
fun.
today's topic is long overdue. It's something that we've kind of like talked around in various areas, but like focusing it purely on. I keep looking over at your list that we put together or that you put together, but just we've talked around these various things that people should be doing, but never
Mm-hmm.
underlined. Look, this is something that's good hygiene in terms of treating streaming more from than just a hobby, and more like a business.
Yep. Yeah, and so yes, like as we talked about before, today's topic on not the just Galen and Ernest chatter part is it is some free things that you can do for your streaming business that will make your life easier or your business better, one of the two. And like I said, if you've seen most of our shows, there's a good chance you've heard us say most of these, if not all of these. But having them in a list is probably pretty helpful. So first things first, Ernest. What do you got for us? What is the first thing in your mind that someone could do to help themselves out that is a free thing, or at least costs not money because things still cost time?
Yeah. So the first thing is separating your business activity into a separate bank account. Um, and the key phrase there is not necessarily a separate business bank account, right? So what happens is, and it's probably been a while since anyone's opened up a bank account, maybe. So, what you have to do is you have to provide your social security number and some identifying information. Um, and what you can do is you can set up, with your bank a separate account.
Hmm.
They may offer a product for you to do that, but essentially you separate the activity and you run all of the business activity through that account.
Yep.
And so why did you put this number one with a bullet, Galen?
Well, I put this first because it's the first thing that I end up working on with a lot of my streamer clients. I put it up there too because it makes your life a lot easier. If you have all of your income and expenses for streaming going in and out of one account, or at least a subset of accounts, the amount of time that you spend, say, trying to confirm your income and expenses for renting or a mortgage or something like that drops dramatically because you have it all in one spot and it's digitally tracked. And that just makes your life a lot easier. It also is really important for things down the line that are like legal protection kind of stuff. But just on the most basic level, it reduces how much work you have to do to track how your business is doing and pay attention to the stuff you need to pay attention to for tax time.
So I would ask then, well, how does it reduce time? So because we've always
Mm-hmm.
said that, right?
Yeah,
So in practice, how does it help reduce time?
sure. So say you are running a streaming business and you have your normal life, right? Both have expenses, and hopefully both earn you some level of income. If you are running it all through your personal banking account or your just same account that you use normally, it would be really hard at the end of the year or at tax time to go through and separate out which things were business income and business expenses and which were personal. You'd have to go basically through all of your statements, all of your credit card reports, all of those kinds of things. And I've heard people basically say that they've had to cancel several days worth of streams because of the amount of time it takes, and it's super draining and all of those kinds of things. Versus if you have it all running through all of the transactions just on their own thing, you have only one record you have to look at. Yes, there's some categorization to do. Yes, there's some double checking to do. But you've done the first step of sorting, which often takes the longest because you'll have thousands of transactions over the course of a year, right? And so not having to sort thousands of transactions, that saves you a lot of money
Yeah, and the
and
sorting
time.
comes down to is you don't have to go through each line and decide, hey, is this a business expense or is this a personal expense? That's what Galen's talking about, right? It's
Yep.
already done for you. You know that everything is already flagged as a business expense in there because you've done that work.
Yep, and we got a really good question that actually leads into some of the follow up stuff as well. But I want to hit on that from, is it Amore? It's spelled
That's some
like
more right.
Italian, so but I don't, you never know. Um, so the reason there that a bank account is a good thing is twofold. One is you get FDIC protection, which in the U.S. is like I think it's up to 250K of cash that's insured by the government in case the institution were to close. That's something that banks get, and I don't know about that for sure on PayPal. The second,
No, because they're not considered an
right?
FDIC
I say I didn't. I
institution.
don't think it is, but I don't. I couldn't actually tell you that for certain. The second one is that because PayPal's not a bank, they can just say, "Sorry, you can't access this money. There's some activity that we didn't expect." In a way that makes your life a lot harder. Um,
It was a huge issue for a while, especially with new streamers, where they start having volumes like of a lot of transactions,
mhm.
but small amounts, and it looks like money laundering.
Yeah, they think you're trying to. You're like, you know, having someone pay you for a service, but actually you're like, I don't know, providing drugs on the side or something, right?
Hmm.
Versus it being an actual legitimate business activity, especially if you don't have any history there. Um, the last one that can get kind of to be an issue later is, and it depends as you grow, is that if Twitch is paying into PayPal, both PayPal and Twitch will report 1099s for you, 1099Ks, and you can get duplicate. You can basically get duplication of your transactions. So if you got, and I'm going to use round numbers and not pretend that these are anything near accurate to this situation, but if you had $10,000 go from Twitch to PayPal, and then $20,000 of that Twitch money plus $10,000 of tips go to your bank account or just sitting in PayPal, you'd get a 1099 for 10K from Twitch and a 1099 for 20K from PayPal for a total of 30,000, even though you only earned 20. That's an example with round numbers, but it's another reason to be careful about routing a lot of your stuff through PayPal.
Yeah, it's funny. I'll have conversations with broadcasters, and they'll have either done their own taxes or like hired someone else, and they don't really get the scene. And like, yeah, I had like an IRS issue like a few years ago. They thought I made more money, and it's instantly like, you deposit your money in PayPal, don't you? And they're like, yeah, yeah. And then like we like have that moment of, I know what I'm talking about. Yeah, this whole issue.
And yeah, it's and we see it every year, right?
Yes,
So
every year,
basically,
year. I mean, I still have some people that do it, and I know enough to like clean it up, and it hasn't been an issue. But
the other thing too about this, the reason we have this as a free step for the record is because you can. So personally, I bank with Capital One, right? My business accounts also happen to be there with their business branch, Spark, but my personal accounts are with Capital One, and I can open sub accounts for my different accounts that have their own full transaction histories and have different numbers on them and things like that, which doesn't cost me anything to do. So like we have, we have a savings account that's labeled car fund for my wife's car is like 11 or 12 years old. We expect to have to replace it in the next 5-ish years, so we're setting aside money each month. It's the same as our other saving account. It's just labeled car fund, right? You could do something like that, or there are free business bank accounts. Chase might be a little harder to do if you're just starting out and don't have any transaction history or separation of your business. But some services we have talked about, Aslo before, for instance, lets you open free online business banking accounts. And since your transactions are all online, you're not doing, I don't know a single streamer who's doing a lot of cash transactions, right? Those kinds of services are actually free to you and just make your life a lot easier.
You have a question coming in directly at you, sir.
Yeah, I see that.
We give it to you? I'll address it. So, okay. Well, you're reading. I can see your eyes.
Yeah. The answer to the question is yes. The answer to the direct question is yes. And the reason it's yes is because of all of the stuff that I just described. Because when you in the US,
you're organized as a sole prop. Like, yes. It doesn't. So here's the thing: it doesn't take anything to start business, right? I could go out and start mowing lawns and have it deposited in a piggy bank.
Yep.
And then I could use that cash and buy gas for the lawnmower and buy, lawn equipment and never have it touch a bank account.
Yep.
But for tax purposes and business reporting, I am organized. I'm a business now, and that allows me all of the rights and obligations of reporting revenue and being allowed to take expenses. You don't have to have a, quote, business bank account to be able to take allowable expenses.
Povo's thinking of an LLC, which is a different kind of business organization, and that is very expensive in California. It's the kind of business I am, and it's really expensive, I can tell you. But in the U.S., the act of conducting business creates a business in the IRS's eyes. But that business is a sole proprietorship, which shares your name, basically. So, yes, you should do it because just the act of earning and spending with the intent of profit creates the business. And so, therefore, you should follow business best practices like separating your banking. The next one that we'd had, which is actually relates to one of the previous questions as well, that's another free step you can take, is open a business PayPal account. You can have, you could have povogamer@gmail.com, which is separate from, theoretically, and probably separate from your personal one, or at least just create a second email address for free at Gmail and open a PayPal account specifically for the business. Again, for the exact same reasons as the banking one. You want to be able to, because when you're accepting tips via streaming, you're often doing it via PayPal, right? Having that separate from your personal one, again, is just good for documentation purposes.
and
Mhm.
some like security reasons. And I bet Dan will go into
Oh,
this
that's a
tomorrow.
super good point. I forgot
Yeah,
about that. Oh,
yeah.
is that
So
Dan's topic for tomorrow?
yeah, I was seeing that. So I bet you'll talk. Well, I bet you'll talk about it. Is that
Basically, your name's attached to your PayPal,
and
right?
address? They could
And
like
address.
reverse
That's
engineer it.
right. So,
So
yeah. Go.
you'd want to get the first thing I recommend any broadcaster do is get a mailing address.
Hmm.
I would say not a PO box. I'd say like get a UPS address, or one of those like mailing places that it
But
looks
that's
like
not free. It's like $10.
it's not free. Oh, that's true. That's true. You're right. You're right. You're right. But quick tangent. This is something I would recommend
We
as a
can do
matter
another
of fact.
show of that costs you $10 or less, and you can
Yeah.
hide it that one.
But at a minimum, at least you could hide your name, right?
Yeah.
You could just have it, you know, you could just have your like handle be the name, and that's it,
Mm-hmm.
because the way it works. And then on the back end, do what you need to do.
Yep. You definitely do
So
not want your name and address getting out there when you receive tips, and that's a really common mistake that people have. Um, So so just like the business account, the PayPal account is the same idea, except also security. Woo! An
yeah,
extra
I mean, the
little
last
buff
thing you
there.
want is some rando showing up to your doorstep,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah, exactly. No, it's a weird world that we have access to via the internet with a lot of cool people and a lot of weird people. And if you ever get to the point where you are gonna have a beer with someone, sure, you can tell them where to meet you. But until then, you might want to err on the side of security and anonymity. Um, so separate bank account, separate PayPal account. Those are not much hassle when you're starting out because you don't have a ton. Presumably, you don't have a ton of transactions on either the earning or spending side. So getting those set up should not take a ton of time, um, and will make your life a lot better in the long term. And both of those steps are more important the bigger that your stream eventually comes, right? So if you are someone who never intends to grow your stream and it really is just a hobby, the PayPal security one is still a good argument. The other one, right? Like then it's not maybe the biggest deal. But if you intend to grow your stream and if you get lucky and become a very big streamer, then those are even more important because if you have 20,000 times the transactions, that's a lot of work to sort through all of that. And if you
Listen,
have 20,000 more people who can access your name and address, that's a big deal.
when I hit as a Roblox auto chess streamer,
God,
I'm gonna have everything set up and it'll be all automated.
chess.
Yeah, Roblox. This is my favorite joke with like broadcast. I'll tell clients like, "Hey, I'm gonna become like a famous Roblox Counter Strike player," and they're like, "Wait, what?" Love it. So our next thing then is, and we harp on this a lot because it's just kind of in our wheelhouse, is accounting software. So a free one that I've seen people use, and it's more I hate how it does a few things, but Zero is a really good option.
Mm-hmm.
And that's Zero with an X, so Xero.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and what that does is, again, that just helps you stay organized and input your data and have up-to-date reporting.
Yep.
And also we have oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say Zero is one that's free for a while and is okay. Wave is one that's free forever. Now it's a free product, right? You get what you pay for, but it's better than nothing. And the Wave one is, I think, Wave Apps. Yeah, waveapps.com. It's these are the next step above separating your business and personal banking, or your business and personal banking, your business and personal PayPal, right? So step one is doing those and pointing the transactions there. Step two is actually getting them. Yeah, there you go. Thank you, Wes. Is actually getting them set up in an accounting software so that in relatively real time you can see how you're doing. That makes your life easier. That makes Ernest's life easier if you work with him. It makes my life easier if you work with me. It makes everyone's life easier if you can say, how am I doing in my business? And go look and actually have a reasonable approximation, right?
Yep, and going back to something, so Sajir Auditum, sorry if I mispronounced it, says, so should I make it a complete separate account or just another account under the one I already have, Galen?
I mean, ideally a complete separate account. Again, if you plan on growing your stream, that becomes a more important thing. But ultimately, if just for now all you have the bandwidth for is opening a separate account into the one that you already have, that's better than nothing, right? That is a still marked improvement over having them completely intertwined.
Essentially, the goal is, you have your debit card, right? And you know, use that to deposit money and, 1 second, and
Oh
then
no.
sign out of my other phone app. And someone was calling the business line.
Oh,
Yikes.
gotcha.
So let's say you've got, like a savings account that has no activity.
Yep.
You can just use that to run everything through.
Yep.
Right. So really, we're just talking about a way to look at your bank reports, your bank statements,
Mm-hmm.
and have that separated and have all that business activity housed there.
Yep.
With no personal use.
Yeah, and ideally you do like a separate business credit card as well, unless you're using that PayPal account for everything. But that's one that you'd have to work a little harder to find one with no fees and stuff like that right off the bat.
And Galen, we get this question all the time though. What if you actually make like $200 from streaming? It's a hobby, and you've got it all separated, and you just want to use it to go, buy beer or have a nice dinner. What do you do?
The money, you mean?
Yeah, how do you get to it?
You just move it to your personal account.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's that simple. Yep.
Yep. It definitely, it's not that hard to do. And I will say, so the streamers that I work with, because I'm a financial planner, are inherently fairly successful streamers, right? These things that I'm talking about now, and are, like I said, A, oftentimes the first steps that I take with new streamer clients, and B, are major sources of stress for them, where they feel like they don't know where everything is, they don't know how things are going, all that kind of stuff, because it is their livelihood. That kind of lack of knowledge becomes a major source of stress. So the more that you do early on when things are simpler to get yourself accustomed to how it operates, the more stress you can save yourself in the future. One thing, if for some reason you don't like using accounting software or something like that, or you prefer a more manual process because it just is easier for you to get a sense of how things are going, is another free thing that you can do to really help your business is use some of the free tools and templates that you have available in, Google, right? G Sheets is sort of Excel. I can't stand using it, but I use Excel for myself. But I have a lot of clients who don't have Excel because they haven't paid for Microsoft Office, oddly enough.
Yeah.
And so I use G Sheets with them, and it works pretty well. And so if you wanted to set up your own basic bookkeeping system in something like G Sheets, or just set up some basic projection tools in something like G Sheets, that's a free way that you can help do the number side of your business.
Yeah, the one thing I don't like about G Sheets is just that it
You've only
didn't
got
exist.
one thing?
Well, hold on. It's a broad thing. Is that it didn't exist when I started really working,
Mm-hmm.
and there was open office and things like that, but there's no uniform input for formulas and stuff. So G Sheets requires the equal sign when you can just shortcut into a plus sign in Excel, and all these little nuanced things in terms of where things are placed. It ends up being very inefficient for me to do hard work.
Right. No, I hate using it. I can't copy paste super easily from Excel into G Sheets and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's always ugh. No. But if you were starting out anew and wanted something free and you didn't already have Microsoft Office, that is a good way to have access to a lot of the common tools that help you either run numbers or, something like Word and PowerPoint equivalents if you're working on putting together a pitch deck for yourself, all those kinds of things.
Yeah, and you shouldn't have too many. You can also use it as an accounting software, right? You shouldn't have. I mean, it's relative, right? You may think 50 transactions is a lot, but as you're first starting out, you may not have that many. You go to TwitchCon, you log all your expenses from the trip, and that will probably be the most volume you do.
And if you wanted to do a show like this, I'm using Zoom, which has a free version which you can have two people in for an unlimited amount of time. But Google also has Hangouts, right? So if you wanted to do something like this, it would be like this show format was something that you wanted to do. It would be pretty easy to recreate it in Hangouts. So getting used to the suite of tools that you have available through Google's different apps is actually pretty meaningful. You can recreate a lot of the stuff, at least in some form, that you might need without having to pay. Wonderfully. We've got one quick one and then a longer one, which we're at about half time, so that's good. The next one that's just a good business step to do and is free is to go grab your social media handles everywhere. So, there's a Buff Your Finances Instagram, even though I don't have a personal one and there's never been anything posted on the Buff Your Finances Instagram. I grabbed it just so that it was not something that someone else could grab, right? And that kind of thing, just going and grabbing those when you have a name that you're starting to use for business is could potentially save you a lot of money or hassle in the future.
Just think of all the different launchers we're going to have soon and how you need to have your gamer tag on each one, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's actually an interesting point of it would be a shame if you had your handle that you used everywhere and then on a game that you were really enjoying streaming, you had a completely different one. That's something, and obviously that's hard if you're starting out with a relatively common, I guess I'd say, or common enough username that it's something where you have to add numbers after it. But
listen, all the people who want to be Revan from KOTOR, right?
Exactly. Revan number 10,000,006.
69420 Blaze.
or even 2525 after your name or something like that.
Mom.
Anyways, that's a quick, easy step that you can do, and again, if you can open a free Gmail account using that, with your streamer name, it's not as good, right, as a mine is Galen at buffyourfinances.com. I could have just done buffyourfinances at gmail.com if I didn't want to pay for that.
Hey, and on that though, you just gave me a tip I always hear, I think from StreamerSquare and just in general, is always throw your email in your social bio.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Like you want to be readily available to be contacted, even if you're just starting, that is a free tip, right? Just make sure that there is an ability for people to reach out should they want to. I would recommend making a separate email for it. That way, all the spam and stuff, since it's a public email, you can type of, sort the noise, as it were.
Yep. Several of my friends who are community managers for different, studios and publication companies say if you don't have your email in your bio on Twitter or various other social media things, they just won't bother reaching out to you because it's too much work for them relative to the return. So make it easy. I should see if that handle's available somewhere.
I would sign that one to at least a $2 esports contract for 5 years. Exclusivity rights as well.
80% of any winnings that I get going into it or whatever.
No, you can have all the winnings, but exclusivity, and I have full control of your rights and all the tournaments you can enter.
There you go.
So,
the last thing that we'd had on our list, and we had it as last because it could potentially take a while to talk through. The last thing that you can, well, not the last thing. There are a ton of things that you can do for free to help your business, but one of the last major ones that we wanted to talk about is you can actually put together a business plan for your stream for free. There are a ton of really good online templates for business plans. There are PowerPoint templates for business plans or Word templates for business plans and all those kinds of things that give you the rough outline that you want. The reason that I have this one on the list is because it takes time, for sure, and it can take a decent amount of time, but walking through the steps of building out a business plan will help you define a lot of the really important things about your stream. Now, that doesn't mean that you are locked into those forever. This is a malleable, changeable document, but it at least makes you think about it and it gives you a starting point. the first thing that you'd want to look at in this business plan is, what do you want your stream to be? What is your unique selling point? What makes you interesting? What makes you something that people will come and watch? And what is the tone that you want in your channel? Those are both really foundational things that are really easy to not think about, I guess I'd say, when you're starting out, right? It's really easy to just gloss over these kinds of things, but if you focus on that and actually make decisions around that and then actually work to fulfill it, you'll go a long way towards creating a better product. And that's ultimately what you're doing. You're creating an entertainment product, right? So if you know or have a sense of what could make you unique or interesting to watch, you're a really good voice actor, you're super good at a particular game, you're the friendliest person that's ever been, a whole world of different things, right?
And a lot of these things are, a lot like everything, a lot easier to do on the front end than waiting on the back end, especially on that managing a community and what the tone of your channel will be, right? Like, you ban Fish Moly and everyone hates you for it. That's a whole thing. That's a decision that you're actively making, right? And so, you know, so that's a tone though you have to set for your channel, right? Like, you can't. It's a lot. What's the saying? It's a lot harder to put the genie back in the bottle.
Exactly. Is this a rage cage kind of stream? Is this something where you're very chill, relaxed, playing story-based games and talking a lot? Is this something where you're a StarCraft professional and it's super focus mode and people are, and so they shouldn't expect much kind of chat interaction? Is this something that's family friendly? Is this something...
Are you an educational streamer? Like, you're going to play like a new game and you're going to like walk people through it?
Exactly.
Like, what is the tone? What's the goal? What is your channel about?
Yep. And we've seen some prominent examples of people changing these kinds of things later on. But if you do it from the start, I'm thinking of like Ninja moving away from swearing so that he could be more family friendly, given how much of his audience was younger kids, right? If you set those kinds of things up ahead of time, it makes and practice it. It makes it a lot easier there, and it also makes It also is something that you can change if you decide that there's a good reason to change it, right? Now you have to, just like even Co, right? Being Co Carnage and now just mostly being Co because he's not as ragey. Those kinds of things can be pretty big changes. Another thing that I would say is really important to add into your business plan. What is your spending plan, right? We talked about we talked about the fact that separating your accounts out can really help you with tracking that kind of spending, but it also really helps to have a spending plan. Again, you won't be able to anticipate every single thing that happens, but if you sit down and say, okay, once I've reached this point, I might need a better PC or a better mic or a better webcam. Once I reach this point, maybe it makes sense to get a new lighting setup. Maybe it starts making sense to go to conventions, whatever the heck it is.
What's the minimum amount that you need right now to put on a serviceable stream, right? Like, I will tell you, if I view a stream and the fidelity on the broadcast is very poor, like just because they don't have the processor to encode properly, probably not going to hang out, right? If it looks like a potato, I'm not gonna hang out.
And even worse if it sounds like one.
Yeah, exactly, right. But you don't need to spend, like $800 on a DSLR webcam setup where it can capture every single pore on your face and the background and like have amazing focus. Like, if you look at some streamers, like one whose camera, like Soda's like camera, if you've ever popped into his stream, is incredible.
I haven't.
Yeah. I think Waffles is really good too, I think.
Yeah, I've seen his for sure. Jabbers has a reasonable plan. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fine. I would say though, you would want to alter the colors.
Yeah,
I think
Brandon's is nuts, but Brandon, I know specifically, has put out a tweet showing his original streaming setup, which was like a jank laptop and lights held up by water bottles and something else that, right? Like, it's amazing now, but it's not where he started.
Yep. You don't need a 2 PC setup.
No.
And like some of the biggest streamers on the platform still have a one PC setup.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. So putting that spending plan in place and putting milestones for when certain things happen make a lot of sense, right? Um, sometimes it's just straight up when I can afford it in the business, right? Like
Hmm.
I know for me, for the first basically year and a half of my business, every dollar I earned was immediately reinvested in something that I knew I eventually wanted to have for the business, be it some sort of software, be it some outside help,
I have
whatever.
like an interesting anecdote about
Go.
like I don't know if this person actually only like streamed with because like lack of funds or just like their setup and space limitations. But Moon
Mm-hmm.
when he's playing Overwatch, only he streamed in like 1300 like by a weird resolution windowed mode, one monitor and chat on the other like within the same monitor
Oh, God.
in a competitive FPS, and he was like he was top 500 the first 2 seasons. So like you don't need again like look where they started, look now, right? Like you
Yeah.
don't need that crazy
I see
setup.
Moon's emotes everywhere.
Yeah, all they do is spam purple lady face.
Exactly.
Listen, you have to know. I have to know some of the memes.
Um, but yeah, so that kind of thing makes so the spending plan makes a lot of sense. And then on the other side of it, you want to have a monetization strategy. What does it look like? What does it actually look like for earning income? Because obviously, you have once you hit affiliate subs, bits, you could put in tips basically whenever. But you want to make sure that you are doing that on a reasonable schedule. A, because you won't have affiliate right off the bat, right? But B, because you don't want to give the impression that you're just doing streaming for money, even though eventually having money from streaming might be something that you follow up on. Um, so that there's that piece of it of how do you manage sort of what you're there to do and what's available to you and stuff like that. But then eventually you also want to make a sense of like, do I have plans for implementing merchandise or other products? Do I have plans for when I would start reaching out for free keys to games, for review codes, for even sponsored kind of content, right? Um, do I eventually get to the point where I'm making appearances or shifting? I've had some clients who used streaming as a platform to shift into hosting, which they really enjoy a lot more, right? Um,
What is your networking plan, right? Because
mm-hmm.
one thing we talk about a lot is how isolating. Gail and I both experienced is just being. Well, you have the co-working space, but I work from
Yeah.
home primarily. Not primarily, solely.
Yeah.
And so, what's your plan to just have that socialization and also meet people and build out a connection, right?
Yep.
Because there's a lot of good resources for like, oh, like I'm having like micro stutters in this game or whatever, but maybe like you network with other people and you talk about it. Like maybe you're playing Apex and
Mm-hmm.
you're having an issue with it, and you network with other people who are playing Apex, and like you just have these conversations about things, right? That just both provide sanity,
Yep.
hopefully, and just things you can talk about that are common to the community, and streaming it well and making the stream look good, how to balance audio levels, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep. And all of that goes into a business plan. Heck, you could do what a lot of businesses do, and what you could do as a streamer. You could do competition research, which not probably exactly the right mindset to think of other streamers as only competition, but if you were someone who was streaming a particular game, for instance, or had a really particular style that you were going for in your stream, you'd want to look at who else does that and see what they do well, what they could work on, where you might be able to make your own unique mark. Because basically, if you're just doing the same thing that someone else has been doing and it's not at all different and they're well established, the odds of you succeeding are pretty low, right? You need to have some reason that people would come to you. So you should do some research around that. When I streamed more consistently, I streamed Faster Than Light, which is a game that I absolutely love and I'm actually pretty good at. And I already knew who the other people were who were streaming it because I've been watching it because I really enjoyed it. So it was helpful for me to compare what I was looking to accomplish with my stream against what they were doing and see where I might have some areas that like, oh yeah, this is a reason that a person would come watch me, right? All of these things can go in a business plan. you can write it up. That's great. But once you write it up, also make sure that you go back to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't want it to just sit there in, Google Drive doing nothing for you. You want to review it. You want to check in on, am I doing a good job of the things that I said I was going to work on? Are things proceeding sort of somewhat according to plan? Are there things that I need to change because I made an assumption that was incorrect, or the environment's different than it was, or whatever, right?
Or just your own goals change, and
Or
like
your own goals change, yeah. Or even, if you're a BR streamer and Apex drops unexpectedly, right? That's a big deal. So it's the kind of thing that putting together an initial business plan, even if it's just an outline, is a really helpful free step that you can take to improve your stream. So, Ernest, did you have other things for us on this? This is the list that I'd come up with. That was sort of the easy, free things that you could do that shouldn't take a ton of time and that would make the most impact.
I would say the one other thing is, if you're trying to do this full time, typically you're juggling a full-time gig or a part-time gig, is just time management, right? So making sure you're along with the business plan, just setting up a schedule that
True.
works for you, that, allows you to have
Following
some free
the schedule
time.
is free.
Yeah. And I think it gets overblown a lot now, especially with how the platform has changed in the past 2 years. Like, yeah, just have a schedule and stick to it, forehead. Like that's all you really need to do. Listen, I'm done like trying to stop the Twitch memes from happening when I talk. I'm just going to keep doing it. And like, oh, he seems to know what he's doing and he talks in memes. I don't really understand. No, but seriously though, like the idea that, okay, I'm going to stream from 8 to noon every day Pacific, right? Like that doesn't, automatically ensure success, but at least it doesn't hurt and it's free, and it at least allows you the ability to plan and, do these various things that you need to do, right? I'm trying to think anything else that I would do. I would also say, like, if you're unsure of something, research. I would say find your resource. Obviously, we're going to hype, StreamerSquare. We're on the channel. We can gas that up. But, there are other, find communities. There are Discord channels for basically everything. The WoW group fell apart, Galen, but I am well, this happens. It got a little stale, this expansion, but I'm in the Warcraft Priests channel. I'm in the Focused Will channel. I'm in the Overwatch Discord. So
That's
there
a
are
lot.
resources. Huh?
That's a lot.
Well, listen, I've played the same class and character since vanilla, so.
I didn't know you'd played Priest. Nice. No, I didn't know that. Never mind.
Yeah. But so, I mean, those are the things though, right? Like, just like you can research stuff for, any game you're playing, you can do the same thing with streaming. And so whether it's like, how to encode, the bit rate for your stream to make it look good based on your rig, or, or overlays or thing like that, there are resources available. You can find anything for free on the internet. Make sure you're vetting it against other sources though, right? Like, you just want to be like, oh, here, let me post my stream key and on Reddit. Here, you can help me out. And then, oh no, right? That could be bad. But that's what I would say. I think those are good things.
Yeah.
And then any questions at all? We're at about the question mark. So we're at 4:15. We had some questions earlier and we kind of answered them as we went.
And if not, I've got some dinner to cook and some spires to slay. So.
Oh yeah, and you have like a long meeting tonight too, right?
Yeah.
I gotcha. Anything you're doing this weekend, Galen, or looking forward to this week?
This weekend, what is it? Some friends of ours are.
Is this the start of your super busy weekends?
Katie and I were talking about so this past weekend we went to the Jolly Oyster, which is at the Ventura Beach State Park area.
You called and you were like, hey, it's no, this is Patrick.
No.
Okay, sure.
It was phenomenal oysters, both ones that you can eat raw and ones that they've got little grills that you can cook them on. Super good, beautiful day out. We were like, oh, we've got some friends who would love to do this with us. When would we have a free weekend that we could do it with them? And the answer was August. Um, so
Jeez.
this weekend we have some friends sort of getting married. Like they're getting married, but
What do you mean, sort of getting married?
they're like not having a wedding, but they're really good friends of ours. So they're like doing some sort of stuff. I don't know. They have a weird opinion around it. So that's what we're doing. And then it's
Gotcha.
Sunday is, oh my gosh, Sunday is volleyball, my mom's birthday, book club, and something else that I think I'm forgetting. So
And next weekend, July 4th, is on the Thursday.
July 4th, then we're driving up to the Bay Area for the wedding. Also, July 5th is my brother's kid's due date, so I'll probably be meeting my nephew sometime around there. And Sundays is volleyball again. Yeah, it's busy. How about you?
Nothing planned.
I'm jealous.
I've got some family coming in next week, though, and then just hoping these broadcasters get this house. And this realtor just tried to call me again. So,
okay, so we should let you go. I didn't see any questions come in.
Yeah, no questions came in. Let us know if you have any topic suggestions or anything you'd like to hear us discuss. Yep. I think in the next couple of weeks, depending on schedules, we may try to get a guest again. It's been a minute since we've done one, right? The last one was Pug.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
That was 5 weeks ago now?
Was it Jeebus?
I think it was like 5 weeks.
It was a while ago.
It was definitely before E3. And so this is our second show. So it's been at least a month.
Okay.
So we'll look at our list and see if we can get a guest here and see what interesting things they have to say.
Yep. Let's wrap it up and talk about that offline. So thank you for coming to the show. Today we talked about the free things that you can do that really can help your streaming business. We had separate your bank account from your business banking from your personal banking, separate your PayPal from your personal PayPal, set up some sort of free accounting software, look at the tools that Google Sheets and others have, or not Google Sheets, but like Google's tool suite, as well as there are other tools similar to that to replace paid for Office tools. Make sure that you grab your social media handles and then work through a business plan and really think through all of the different things that are involved with that. I'm Galen Cortina. I'm a financial planner who works with streamers. So, my job is to help them make more smart money decisions and fewer dumb money decisions. Ernest, who are you?
I am Ernest Jones. I am a CPA. I assist broadcasters, game developers, esports professionals with their taxes. So U.S. tax issues, U.S. tax compliance, IRS rep, all that good stuff. That is us, and this is Your Brand, Your Business, where we talk about cool business-related stuff.
We talk about the boring stuff that's really important to make sure that you do. We don't find it boring, but others have told us that we're boring. You never know. All right. I will talk to you later. Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye.